everything you know about Australia's geography is technically a lie. We are taught that the center of the continent is a dead heart, and it's a place where life goes to die. But that is only true if you look at the surface. If you could X-ray the ground beneath the Simpson Desert, you wouldn't see rock, you would see a blue giant. Right now, beneath the driest inhabited continent on Earth, sits a freshwater reserve so massive it defies physics. It is the size of France, Germany, and Spain combined. It generates $33 billion in economic activity every year. That's more cash flow than the top 1% of OnlyFans creators combined. And the best part, the water doesn't have to sell its dignity to get it. This freshwater reserve is one of the most valuable natural assets on the planet, and without it, modern Australia simply wouldn't exist. But this water is fossil water. Some of it fell as rain nearly 2 million years ago, when early humans were still in Africa and learning to walk according to science. And now we are draining it far faster than nature can refill it. So how much time do we actually have left before the world's largest underground oasis turns to dust? To understand the sheer scale of this thing, we need to break our brains a little bit. This underground treasure is called the Great Artesian Basin. It stretches over 1.7 million square kilometers, covering 22% of the entire Australian continent. If this basin were a country, it would be the 17th largest nation on Earth, bigger than Iran, Mongolia, or Peru. But big on a map is one thing. Big underground is a different beast entirely. Scientific estimates say this basin holds 65,000 cubic kilometers of fresh water. That is nearly 3 times the volume of all the Great Lakes in North America combined. Or, to use the standard Aussie unit of measurement, it is enough water to fill Sydney Harbor 130,000 times. And here's the kicker. If you tried to buy this water at Sydney tap rates, it would be worth over $100 trillion. It's literally more valuable than every company on the Australian Stock Exchange combined, or any other company in the world for that matter. And this is where the irony gets dark. In the 1800s, explorers like Burke and Wills marched into this desert and died of thirst, their lips cracked and black, desperate for a single drop of water. They didn't know that if they had just dug a hole, they were standing on top of the biggest drink in the world. But how did an ocean end up trapped under a desert in the first place? In the town of Birdsville, deep in the Australian outback, water comes out of the ground at 98 degrees Celsius, nearly boiling. For years, the town used this to run a geothermal power station that generated 25% of their electricity. Imagine that! Australians literally powered their Netflix with dinosaur water. Then they cooled it down and drank it. Australians are literally drinking prehistoric water that doubles as a power plant. But how does water get that hot? And why does it shoot out of the ground without a pump? Forget everything you know about underground water. There's no cave down there. That's Minecraft physics. The real answer involves an ancient sea called the Eromanga Sea. Yes, you heard that right. One day, Australian geologists woke up and decided to name an ancient sea Eromanga. Questionable anime energy aside, this sea is the reason the basin exists. Rivers filled sandstone with water like a sponge. The Eromanga Sea sealed it with a clay lid. Then the eastern mountains pushed up, and now gravity squeezes the whole continent like a Ziploc bag. But here's the wildest part. That water moves at just 1 to 5 meters per year, slower than the One Piece plot reaching the actual One Piece. The water coming out of a spring today fell as rain when humans were first learning to walk upright. It's not water, it's a time capsule. When Europeans finally poked a hole in this pressure cooker in 1878, it triggered a gold rush, but for water. The pressure was so intense that water shot 30 meters into the air like a geyser. Workers needed up to 12 men just to wrestle a single bore shut. They called it the Artesian Age. Towns sprouted in the middle of deserts. Cattle stations expanded into suicide country. By 1915, over 1,500 bores were producing 2 billion liters of water per day. But humans, being humans, we got greedy. We drilled thousands of bores and just left them open. We treated it like an infinite cheat code. Up to 95% of that water flowed into open dirt drains and just evaporated before a single cow could drink it. We treated this water like boomers treated the housing market. Take everything now, leave nothing for the kids, and complain about the service. It was like finding the world's biggest savings account and giving the password to a guy with a gambling addiction and a crypto portfolio. By 1890, barely 12 years in, scientists were already warning about declining pressure. By the 2000s, the pressure had dropped so much that a third of all bores stopped flowing entirely. But the farmers weren't the only ones who suffered. Scattered across the basin's edges are roughly 6,300 mound springs, places where the pressurized water cracks through the surface naturally. These aren't just puddles, they are the Galapagos Islands of the desert. Because these springs have been isolated by thousands of kilometers of sand for millions of years, they contain life found nowhere else on Earth. Creatures like the Dalhousie goby, ancient snails, tiny crustaceans, and nearly 80 species that have been evolving in these tiny pools while the rest of the world changed around them. They have a smaller dating pool than a Discord moderator. Some species in one spring are genetically different from populations in springs just a few kilometers away. Millions of years of isolation will do that. To the Eromanga people, these springs are sacred, the resting place of the rainbow serpent. The bubbling water isn't geology to them, it's the breath of an ancient spirit still alive beneath the sand. But here's the problem: as the basin's pressure drops, these springs turn off, and when the water stops, an entire species goes extinct instantly, often before scientists even knew it existed. And now, the basin faces a threat even worse than running dry. The basin sits directly on top of massive coal and gas deposits. To get the gas out, companies use fracking, cracking the rock layers deep underground. The nightmare scenario is simple. If you crack the seal between the gas layer and the water layer, you contaminate pristine 2-million-year-old water with toxic chemicals. And this isn't theoretical. In 2009, a company in Queensland accidentally connected a coal seam to the aquifer during fracking operations. They didn't alert authorities for 13 months. You can't put a filter on 65,000 cubic kilometers of underground water. If you poison it, it stays poisoned for millions of years. From my perspective, I think that incident was so bad that it was like a waiter who contracted a bunch of sexually transmitted diseases and all sorts of bacterial infections spitting in your drink before serving you. The good news is that we are finally waking up. Since 1999, a massive government initiative has been capping those old, wasteful bores and replacing open drains with pipes. We've saved roughly 250 billion liters of water annually. In some places, the pressure is actually rising for the first time in a century. In Queensland, new springs are even emerging, water breaking through to the surface for the first time in decades. But we are still extracting faster than nature can refill. The basin does recharge, but at a geological pace, 1 to 5 meters per year. Scientists don't call this water management. They call it a mining operation. We are mining a resource that takes 1 million years to fully replenish. The Great Artesian Basin is a reminder that Australia is a land of deception. On the surface, it tries to kill you with heat, but underneath, it is keeping a fifth of the continent alive with a secret it kept for 100 million years. The springs are either coming back or going silent, and our generation gets to find out which, and you're watching this happen in real time. What do you think about how fast we will drain it? Or what happens if, God forbid, an oil company contaminates it like it was with Deepwater Horizon? Let me know in the comments below. This video took 60 hours of research. If you learned something new, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm show this to more people. Support this channel on Patreon or directly here on YouTube memberships. It would help a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.